All right, we are live. It is Thursday, September 9th, and this is our weekly Backdraft developer check-in meeting. Before we get into the agenda, let's go around and do some quick introductions. If you want to share what your name is, where you're from, and something that's not on the agenda today to talk about, you can definitely do that. I can go first. My name is Jen Lampton. I'm joining from Oakland, California. And I am so excited about all of the new stuff we got into 120. Thank you, everybody, for all of the work. Let's see, let's go with Robert.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California, and also excited about 120. Greg.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Greece. Very, very excited about all the things that are coming with 120 and all the cleanup and consolidation and consistency that we've implemented. Also excited about this coming weekend. I'm going to have some time to sprint on fixing and polishing last minute things. So if anyone wants to join, just the usual thing would be join on Zulip. We'll have a Zoom channel open so that we can discuss things and coordinate. And yep, super excited. I'll pass it on to Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a backend developer. And yeah, I haven't really been doing much, so I don't have much to say. So, Justin.
Justin Christopherson. I'm in Denver, Colorado. Just help out with infrastructure things when I can. And is Robert next?
Tim, maybe.
Yeah, Tim.
Sure. I'm Tim Erickson. I'm in St. Paul, Tim, in Deerwood, Minnesota. And yeah, nothing special to report. Just real busy right now. So let's go ahead.
All right, and I'm Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm a core committer, and and I'm in Oakland, California. And that's it for our introductions. Jen, if it's okay, I'll just roll right into the next section, which is the kind of open Q&A, general discussion things, kind of some announcements that we've got. The most obvious one being feature freeze completed back on September 1st. So we're now frozen for new features. We're still accepting usability fixes and bug fixes, of course. And the release of 1.20 will be out a little less than a week from today on September 15th. So that's very exciting. There's lots of stuff in 1.20 that kind of came down there at the finish line. And we have the preview release out already. It's not on backdropcms.org. Preview release is only on GitHub, but you can get it. It's 1.20.0-preview from the releases page on GitHub. And we'll go over the things that are in 1.20 here in a little bit. Another thing that is a big announcement type thing is that we have fully switched over to using GitHub Actions for all new pull requests, which is very exciting. Big thank you to Indigo Zella, who spearheaded that project, pretty much took it from beginning to finish as far as implementation is concerned. That is super exciting. It is a little bit funny that we had lots of problems with ZenCI that were infrastructure specific, disappearing results, inability to access the results, containers not spinning up. We couldn't change the PHP version, lots of little annoyances there. And now with GitHub Actions, we have a lot more flexibility. We can run PHP 8 now on our unit tests. They are a little bit slower, but not much thanks to the concurrency running. We haven't, as far as I've seen any problems with running out of space. It seems like, like all of the actions actually get executed every single time. Reliability seems to be pretty good. Also kind of interesting, the random failures that we see are not very random at this point. They're pretty consistently failing all the time, which is also great because that means that we can fix those random problems because they happen so frequently now. Jen, do you have something to add?
I had a question, 2 questions. So it looks like from the tests that I'd seen running on recent pull requests that they take about 10 minutes, the longest one. The previous ones took about 3. Can we have more like concurrency, or I don't know why the decision was arbitrarily made the number it was. Is there a limit on the GitHub side? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, there is. There's a limit to the total number of concurrent things that any one project can utilize. And so we're using 6 at a time right now already. And I can't quite remember the limit. It might be 10 that you're given per project. So already, if you have 2 pull requests that are filed at the same time, one of them waits on the other one to finish before it starts. And so I think that that's kind of why we didn't go any higher with that, because we don't want to have it so that a single pull request gets queued up on itself. I think that would be undesirable.
Yeah. It sounds like this is going to give us a lot of problems in the future. We start having right now, we're only 1 pull request is allowed to test at a time.
More or less, yeah.
Okay. So don't go too fast, everyone.
But it's already like a better efficiency as far as like,
Yes.
having the tests go through every time rather than having the tests fail, 1/3 of the time. You have to come back like 2 hours later and you're like, oh crap, my test didn't even run. And then you have to rerun them and they may or may not come back. So
yeah, I think that's fine as long as you're coming back 2 hours later. But if it's, if we ever get to like a point of a Drupal core sprint where you have 200 people in a room all submitting pull requests at the same time, it's not going to fly. But if we get to that point, I will be so happy.
Yeah. And you know how code sprints actually go is that it's like there's very little filing of actual pull requests. It's like mostly figuring stuff out and getting a grasp on issues, and then every now and then there's a pull request. But yeah, I get your grasp. It is possible for us to pursue other options. Like if we wanted to set up our own runners, then we could increase the concurrency there. And also we haven't even tried like reaching out to GitHub and asking, hey, could we get on a non-free plan pro bono, to increase the number of runners that we get. So there are other options available to us too.
Yeah, and if we ever get to the point where we're about to have a core sprint with 200 people, we can do those things. I don't think it's urgent either.
Yeah, or we could just upgrade our plan, like we could pay for a GitHub, for a little while.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although though GitHub is per seat, and I would be terrified to know how much our per seat cost or like our total cost would be. We already have like over 200 people, so that could be a problem. Let's see. Anyway, GitHub Actions, we're super excited about that. We're also using Tugboat for sandboxes, so that means that we're no longer using ZenCI for any day-to-day purpose. The hooks have been disabled, although all of ZenCI's code is still there. The application is merely suspended right now. So if we want to restore it, we still have that that option ahead of us. But I think we'll probably, continue and then clean up all of that excess stuff in the future. Let's see.
One more question. Do you remember how long it's been since we switched from Travis to Zen?
5 years.
And so let's see, Backdrop is 8 years old. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, we twice. So yeah, 4 years from now or whatever, we have to do it again. We'll be ready.
Well, maybe. Like GitHub Actions is very quickly squashing all of its competitors because everybody built their entire model off of GitHub.
But they might have like API changes or something. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure that there'll be something.
The future will change.
Yeah, there'll be a new Docker or something,
Yeah. I'm already much less annoyed with having to come back to the pull requests. And sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you can finish.
No, and as I said, the failures are already, like, we have issues for them. They're consistent. I haven't seen like the usual suspects that were failing in ZenCI, like the taking for updates, which throws like fail to take updates for X amount of modules and things like that. They keep creeping up. So it means that there's something that we need to fix. But the thing with the time zone that was happening, it's not happening anymore.
Oh, so, I saw it once already.
Oh, you did it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was glad for a moment there, but yeah, okay. We'll get to that. Anyways, Joseph, you go.
So if I if I just push a new commit or close and reopen a pull request I've made already, then it'll run it on GitHub Actions, and I don't have to do anything else for those.
I meant to say something else there. You need to rebase or
Rebase.
merge with 1.x in order
Okay.
to get the GitHub Actions config file into your repository.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if you just push a commit to an existing one, because it doesn't have GitHub Actions in it and this NCI hooks are disabled, the tests will fail to run entirely. So we'll probably need to advise a lot of people actually as they go back and work on the several hundred open pull requests. If they just push individual commits, we'll need to ask them to rebase or merge with 1.x.
That could be a fun sprint.
What's that?
That could be a fun sprint.
Yeah, we
Rebase
could
all
just
the-
go through like the old pull requests and rebase them all. Yeah.
I guess I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Oh no. Okay, well, if it's fun for you.
I mean, I'll have to do it eventually.
While
okay.
you're rebasing them, you can move them forward too, and maybe we'll.
Just solve all our problems while you're at it. That would be great.
All right. Well, we've got two more things that need to be covered in depth, and one of them is kind of a recap of the things that got into 1.20, and then the other thing is like things that we still need to do before 1.20 is released. I don't think it'll take too long to get through this like what got in list, so maybe we'll get through that first, even though we'll probably run out of time. So let's see, 1.20, we had this flurry of activity looking for kind of the easy wins, if you will. Some of them not so easy actually, but some of them moved forward really pretty quickly. And we'll go through some of these things that that happened. Oh, I guess before we do the new things, the exposed file name filter for the media library dialog, issue 3293, that one's been on our plate for 6 months now or something like that. We finally got that one fixed. It was great. Laren's approach was super close. Like it was a really good implementation, but we had some minor, well, maybe not minor, but certain edge cases that that caused it not to work. We took that implementation and just tweaked it a little bit. And we seem to have all exposed filters working in the media library dialog now, which is super great. There's one small caveat to that, and that's the reset button doesn't work quite yet, I think. So we don't have the reset button enabled in the view display, but like that's kind of a follow-up issue that still needs to be addressed. Turns out the reset button handling in views exposed filters with Ajax turned on is really not very well done. And so the first thing we should probably do is check the 777 related issues to see if this sort of thing has already been fixed in 777, because it's just kind of a general problem with the reset button and Ajax dialogues that its handling of like turning itself on and off is not very good.
And also there was the thing about if you edit the filter, the expose filter to add auto submit, then it loses the focus. But someone mentioned, maybe it was you, Nate, that this is a generic issue and it's pre-existing. So yeah.
Yeah. In that particular problem, we have a unique backdrop specific solution to that. We fixed that same problem on the date format page, that as you type, you would lose the focus. But we did something on the date format page that there's like a special option you can do to like prevent that from happening, from disabling the field. Yeah, so there's a couple of things there that could be done as follow-ups. But the big issue is now fixed, and that's a huge improvement to be able to add any kind of filtering you want to the media library dialog. Let's see, so some of the new issues, we added an HTML5 details element to form API and just theming generally. That's issue 324, apparently a pretty old one. Indigo Zella headed this one up. Jen, Laren, and Greg also had a hand in it. But Jen, could you give us a summary of what happened there and if anything still needs to be done?
Sure. So we added a new form API element for details that works a lot like We're currently using field sets. This is something Drupal 8 did too, and we made the same form API change, but we did not change all of our field sets to use details elements. So the element is there if anyone wants to use it, but nothing in core is using it right now. Remaining tasks are 2 documentation updates, a change record where we have a Drupal 8 change record we can base ours off of, and then a change to the form API page on the documentation website with a giant matrix of all the properties that are available.
Robert, you
Collapsibility, is that a thing that's in details as well? And the styling of it, is that done in 7 or any other theme?
Yeah, it's styled in 7 and basis. I don't think it's styled in Bartik. But yeah.
Does it have collapsible like field sets do?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
part of details HTML spec.
Oh, so there's no JavaScript associated with it? It's just there? Oh,
Yeah.
native browser support, yeah.
wow. Oh, well, that's a
That's why-
really
That's why
nice
we
thing.
like it.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
And that's why the follow-up task that I was mentioning with the toggles, like we get rid of 2 JavaScript functions at least, or maybe entire files, which basically do the same thing for the modules page. We get rid of the entire JavaScript that runs on those pages using details elements. But yeah, Robert, raise your hand. So maybe.
Say, I'll update the form API page on the docs.
Thanks.
You find in the code base for the doc site, there's a static HTML page for that form API.
No, there's not
Oh,
anymore.
no. Oh,
Peter fixed it.
Peter did a really nice thing. It's assembled from nodes, essentially.
Yeah,
I didn't know we launched that. Okay, yeah, I saw him working on that like for 2 years or something. So
Yeah, no, it's really nice.
yeah. Now there's like a content type for form API attribute and form API element.
that's
and
been there for
it's-
2 years, but we'd still been using the static HTML page for a while. So I didn't know that we'd launched it. So
yeah,
anyway,
Well,
sorry.
yeah. The new form API page is awesome. Okay. Thank you, Jen. That all sounds amazing. Let's see. We also implemented dismissible status messages, issue 4571. Greg, could you give us an overview of what that is?
Yeah, so this started again as a Peter's brainchild. So he implemented the initial pull request, or that was what was committed. I think, Jen, you fixed a couple of things because Peter was unavailable. But basically, we were contemplating of whether this should be a thing that should be configurable via the admin UI. We went with the solution that every message should be dismissible, and we left the enabling or disabling to contrib if that's something that people want. So yep. So basically, that's it. Every message, whether it's status, warning, or info or notice, has an X button now at the top right, and people can dismiss it. I did find a few cases where it's not desirable and we cannot override it, but that can be a follow-up. One of the cases was the blue info message that we show when themes are not enabled and they provide color support. We have a status message that says that's the only thing that is shown in the settings, and it doesn't make sense to dismiss it, because if you dismiss it, then you have a completely blank page. But we can think how we handle those things in the future.
We have like help for the page that's styled like an info message, don't we?
Well, it's a trick. We don't have a help thing, but it's a trick that you can do with a container that has the classes of info, status, or what. So we can replace that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there might be some places like that where we're using messages that we probably shouldn't be anyway. So maybe this will be a good, if we find where it's not desirable to have that be dismissible, that might be a really good indicator that maybe it shouldn't be a message and it should be something else on the page anyway. So that'll be great.
Yeah, we have a form API element just called help, found type equals help, but it doesn't have any styling on it whatsoever. So maybe what it is like maybe we should style the help section or the help element, because there's nothing on it right now. It's just markup. It does have a wrapper around it. It says like div class equals help and everything. Just
yeah.
There's nothing on there. Well, that's great. Yeah, lots of fun things. Let's see. And lastly, there's better taxonomy permissions, issue 382. Let's see. I don't know anything about this one, but let's see. Greg, Jen, or Tim, all of you had a hand in this. Any of
I
you
can
want to
speak
take a
to it.
stab at it? Yeah.
Yeah, there were very limited permission possibilities with taxonomy in terms of, for example, you couldn't assign an editor the ability to create new tags but not delete them or whatever. So basically, right now, you can assign a role to administer all taxonomies, to create new tags, to delete them, or what would be the last one? To edit them. Yeah, create, edit, delete. Those are the three options, and it's much more flexible and useful.
Wow. Is that per vocabulary? Or
Per
all
vocabulary.
vocabularies? Oh, wow.
Per vocabulary. There was some. Go ahead.
No, it's worth mentioning that this request was it's one of the 3-digit ones. It's from back in 2014. So
yes. It's also maybe worth mentioning that the exposed filter for media were both top 10 items on our survey last March. And if you count config recipes, that's 3 things that are going into this from our top 10 list.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow, so exciting. Well, that's it. I think for the really big items that we haven't that got in even reasonably recently. There's some other things like Robert's layouts, separation hooks, and things like that got in quite some time ago. So overall, it looks like a nice collection of things for the 1.20 release. We have a few more things that could be done yet in the next week. I'll just bring up, since we just talked about taxonomy, the taxonomy dashboard block has some issues, issue 5198. Tim filed that issue and there's already a pull request for it, just making the taxonomy management block on the dashboard respect all of these new permissions that we have. So that issue needs review, 5198. And probably the big item that we have to kind of address is what to do with telemetry. The telemetry module is in core, but it's not turned on. You know, how much additional effort do we want to put in there? I know Greg has been making and updating several issues about like the different data that we can possibly collect. And we've actually had a tag for this for the history of the project almost. There's a needs usage metrics tag. And if you look at that tag on GitHub, there's like 20 items in there of like things that we could potentially collect. And Greg has been going through and starting to make pull requests to collect those things. Greg, do you want to talk further on that point?
yeah, so we need a change record. That's why that issue is still it's tagged as fixed. The main code has gone in. So as you said, the follow-up things is create a change record, decide what things we want to collect with the introduction of this, and then the biggest thing possibly that we discussed in our previous meeting was that we now need to decouple. We need to make sure that the update module is always installed with a standard profile, and the installer doesn't give you the option to disable it now. So basically decoupling telemetry from, not telemetry, but usage statistics of module from the installer, and then prompting users to enable telemetry. So basically an opt-in for the installer, which we need to decide. So these are follow-ups. I'm not sure if we have enough time to make it for this release, but it can be a task for 120.1.
Yeah, do we, there's in the meta item, issue 285, this was my fault that I should have made a separate issue for the implementation of the core module, because now the main discussion was all happening in issue 285, but that's actually a meta that lists a whole bunch of other issues in there, which is still very useful. Do we have an issue though specifically for this like installer question?
Yes, so the top of the list has 3168, which says separate checking for updates from collecting anonymous data.
I see.
That's one. And then there must be another one. I'm just looking for it. Which one is it? There must be another issue, but maybe we failed, like we didn't add it to this meta. So the decision, or sorry, not the decision, but the discussion that we had last time, Nate, was that, and I don't think it was during the dev meeting, it was during the sprint, was that we reword the checkbox that is in the settings for the updater, which basically now says that sends project statistics as well, usage statistics. So we enable that, and that's the only thing that we expose. And then we need to decide whether enabling the telemetry should be part of the installer, or it should be a message once the installation is finished. So things like that.
Yeah, and I guess we could handle both. The installer feels like it should be separate, but we could put it into that 3168
Yes.
thing, because it's all going to be related. That the checkbox for updates module will go away, a new checkbox will be added for data collection, and just the way things turn on and off will be all just kind of shuffled a little bit.
Yeah, because the telemetry thing is a module, so we don't have to have a checkbox and a settings page somewhere for it. If someone just doesn't enable telemetry, the telemetry module, not telemetry, is sent. So we don't need an admin page for it.
Yep. And and to
The same with the update
restate
module.
what you already said, the update module will get a setting though, saying the update module will have an option to not record your site's usage, but still check for updates.
Exactly.
So that'll be the big difference, that right now update module, there's no choice. If update module is turned on, we're collecting usage information on you, which honestly is not ideal in the first place. Like, you should totally be able to check for updates without telling us what you're running, you know?
Yep.
And the great thing about that is that also, if we're not collecting stats on your site, it's also more efficient for us, because we can serve up cached versions of those XML files. And right now, if you're collecting usage information, just the act of checking also requires some server-side processing on our side. Yeah, that all sounds really wonderful. And I kind of agree with you, Greg, that I don't even think that this necessarily needs to be 1.20 type things, that we could probably make these changes in 120.1 as just like incremental additions to things. It's possible that maybe telemetry, we should make a policy about like, what is telemetry data collection, you know, like, is that a feature? Is it a UX thing? You know, like, it's helping us make better decisions, but you know, when should we enable the collection of new stuff? Like, if we need a policy around that.
One thing that needs to be done before the release, though, is we need to decide whether telemetry is on or off. And I think that we are all leaning towards off, right? It needs to be an opt-in thing.
Correct.
Those of us that know can start enabling it and using it. And then the next big decision is for existing sites. How do we let them know that this is an option now? I think that Tim mentioned the dashboard notification thing, or we can do some tweeting about it, so that we can let people know how they can help us. But there's subtasks to that. We need to create either create a new policy page, like privacy policy page on backdropcms.org, or update the existing one with what data we'll be collecting for telemetry.
Yeah, that's a great point. I wanted to bring that up too. Like, we have a privacy policy, but
We do.
I kind of wonder. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's already segmented by updates, backdropcms.org. Oh, that's great. So we actually already have the update section in here. Yeah, it seems like updating this would probably be the most straightforward approach.
You add a section for telemetry and say that it's sort of like it's opt-in, and maybe either list the things that we collect, or in order to avoid having to update it every time, maybe we have a dedicated page. Like we have the gist of it there, that it's an opt-in and why it's there. And then we have a dedicated page for telemetry, which we can add the data that we collect, like the charts or whatever we add in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the idea of just being able to link to backdropcms.org/privacy, and then that link will live forever in the code. And then if we need to make any changes or bisect the privacy policy into multiple pages, like we can do it all from that one page.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I wonder if that should be a blocker requirement for putting it in the installer, because we should really probably link to the privacy policy, like underneath that checkbox that says like collect usage information, send usage information.
Do you think there's enough time to do it now, like over the weekend, if we worked, or are we risking?
Yeah, I think there is time if things go smoothly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I might work on that. There's another 2 issues that I want to work, but that's one. At least the taking away the checkbox for the updates from the installer and replacing it with a telemetry thing, which basically enables the telemetry module.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Okay. Well, geez. Yeah, that's kind of the items I have. Telemetry, I guess, still has a lot of other work, like the server side component of it. If we start even adding like 2 or 3 of these other feature requests, Greg, that you've added for telemetry data, we'll need to start putting a lot of effort into, well, not a lot of effort, but we'll need to start making the reporting page for telemetry data a lot better. That's what I'm getting at, because I think just listing every single one of them as a table is going to get overwhelming really pretty quick. And some things are like really super important, like the version of PHP that you have. Other things, maybe not so much, like, is this a multi-site?
One of the things that we always wanted, and it's like the most useful, I guess, is the which core modules and things are enabled. And this is an array. It's not just a simple value. So if we can work on that and maybe add it sooner than later.
Yeah, I think that one will probably require some like whole new way of thinking about the data, because like you say, it's an array. Unless we wanted to be really stupid about it and just like collect like individual items, like is editor module, or sorry, there's no editor module, is
contact module.
Contact module, that's a great example. Contact module turned on or off, and we just make a telemetry info item for every module that we care about collecting, and collect them individually rather than blanket, like, is node module turned on and off, that sort of thing. So we could do it right now. And maybe like one of the ways we can improve this is like if we started like quote categorizing the telemetry data on the server side so that you could filter by big batches, and one of those categories could be like core modules or something like that, and then it wouldn't really matter that we're collecting it in such a rudimentary way, because you would just segment out that whole set of things into a different group. But that can all be done server side if we go with that really silly approach. Yeah, and it can be done. Yeah, whenever.
Yeah, and so some of the tasks like making the page prettier or having chats, and that is not a core task. It's a backdrop CMS. It's an ops task basically. So it can be done at any time.
Yeah, we could actually build that like chart support directly into project module. I don't think that would be outrageous, because first of all, backdropcms.org is the only module running project module. so we really can kind of make project module do whatever we want, even though it's very backdropcms.org specific. Because it would be nice to throw charts on the usage statistics as well, like just the individual project statistics. All right. All great.
Even on Drupal, sorry, just a fun fact thing. The statistics for the project is like 122 sites using it, and I guess it's for software releases or something else, some things like that. So
yeah, there was a time that I remember Jen used project module at one of her previous agencies. At Chapter 3, they actually used project module instead of like, Asana or Jira, but that was before those things existed, you know? So
Fair enough.
now there's so many other project management things that it would be a little bit silly, I think, to use project module for like issue tracking, for example. But people used to do that more frequently before they had better tools.
Yeah, we built our own Jira out of Drupal back. It was Drupal
Sure.
5. Very exciting. I also built an extra
Sure.
with Drupal 5. There's lots of things Drupal 5 did before they were popular.
Nate, I
Go
could
ahead,
do a
Tim.
quick update on the config recipe discussion we had, which, so we patched a bug in 1.20 that makes config recipes possible. We're not announcing this as a big feature because there's still a lot of questions about what config recipes are and such. But we have a couple of sample config recipes, and the discussion in the last meeting was, like, in the interim, do we want to go ahead and release these as modules? Are we far enough along? You know, is it okay for me, for example, to push my personal recipe projects into Backdrop Contrib, or is that premature? And I think the decision that we're at right now is that there's no harm done in creating and releasing some recipe modules. We're not providing any kind of official support for them or anything just yet. Jen is working, probably, I don't know if she's still working on it now, but in the meetings has been working on, is this a module for backdrop.org that's going to sort? I'm a little confused on what you're doing right now, Jen. But it's
a shared module, so you can install it on your site for managing your own recipes.
perfect. Okay. So basically a contrib module that will allow you to and it's going to, is it going to use the package or is it going to use a custom field that we're going to add to the .info?
Right now it's going to use package, but if we decide to use the custom line in the info file, we can change that.
Okay, so basically there'll be a contrib module which will just help you manage recipes on your site that you can upload, and they'll be available on backdrop.org. And this will allow us to, it will allow people to easily install recipes through the UI because they're available on backdrop.org. So yeah, and I think we decided, I was just asking things like naming them. Should I include recipe in the name or whatever? And I guess we decided not to do that in the machine name for your modules because that might sort of lock us into things in the future. But they could have a username that includes recipe in it. But basically, I think sort them by package is the way right now. It's use the package type recipe or package equals recipe so that they, in the module, in the browser or the module browser, they'll all show up together. Well, I think that's the main thing. And we're gonna, we can add, I think we decided we can add another data point in the .info file. Whether or not that's supported right away, it won't hurt anything. But I don't know if we settled on that yet. I don't know what that would be. But
yeah, we're not breaking
not
anything,
urgent.
but adding it and removing it later if that's what's needed. So it's, yeah, we can experiment.
So
I think the biggest takeaway though is that it's okay to upload recipes to
Contrib.
and create release in the contrib space.
Cool. Joseph?
So I came to the last meeting late, so I kind of missed half of this discussion. For Jen's module, is the idea that it's going to be basically just glue code around the existing module and installer implementations with like a simplified UI?
Yeah, it's just like the module listing, only it's only going to list the ones with package recipes. And then right now it doesn't even have an enable disable toggle on it, but we can add that. And then I thought what would be really convenient is if it had like a revert option for the config in it. So that's sort of my end goal, is to get that.
Okay.
That's it.
Just quickly, Joseph and I had a conversation 2 weeks ago after the meeting, which we sort of talked about this path. And I wrote a blog post, which basically says maybe we don't make any big decisions about what recipes are now. We create a module like what Jen is doing, and then just sort of allow people to experiment with them. And then we can kind of see where that space goes, what gets developed. And maybe,
which is a great thing. And actually, I think that it should go into the release announcement as a blog post. That, we've paved the way for greater things to happen with recipes. So we've unblocked certain things.
okay. Okay, well, that's where that's at. And that came out of our last meeting.
Okay, that's great. Well, do we have any other items to discuss? We got through the whole list. Okay. Yeah, there's lots of exciting things happening. What's happening between now and Wednesday? Yeah, we've got the telemetry items definitely to discuss. Robert, that one issue that you raised, it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and take a look at that issue as well. I don't have the number in front of me though.
5077. So 57.
5077, and that is just some UI tweaks to the layout listing page. But yeah, I think in the meantime, it's always good to keep an eye on the 119 milestone. Actually, 119.4 is the current one. That's usually where bug fixes actually accrue, is things that we could act on immediately. So in between now and next Wednesday, that's a good list of things to do to find for checking like bug fixes and things like that.
There's Jen's the issue number is 5149, which is pretty close. It just needs tests to be fixed and just a few CSS fixes here and there, which is a big improvement of how the flexible template UI looks, like consistency. This is really close. And I'm confident that we can sort of like sort it out over the weekend or before Wednesday.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any favorites? Okay. All right. Well, we'll wrap it for. Oh, go ahead, Joseph.
What was the issue number for that again?
So it was 5149.
Cool, thanks.
And then I have two issues that I'm working on. One is 5090, which is the toggles for more or less. And then I'll need to find the one where I fix the states for the container type. So states is not working properly, and it's an easy fix. It's basically a wrapper class, the form wrapper class that is being added to radius and checkboxes. That's an easy fix as well.
Somehow I find anything that has to do with states being an easy fix hard to believe, but we'll see.
Fair enough.
Quick question. Should we put a dashboard notification out about the preview release? Is it too late for that, or is that?
It's not too late.
That it's available, and if people want to test it out on their sites, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think if there's older items there, it would be beneficial to add one for that and one for finals printing over the weekend or the days to come.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's wrap it for today then. Great meeting, folks, and great work. I know I wasn't here last week, so don't want to miss my opportunity to say thank you to all of the hard work that happened. The code sprint weekend was wild. Like, I mean, it was just all cylinders firing, lots of people around the clock, new stuff coming in. Yeah, excellent teamwork. Laren being a core committer, oh my gosh, boy, he was really keeping on top of things. And lots of things have been coming in, small bug fixes, like really consistently now. Really appreciating Laren's new help merging in issues. But our other core committers, BW Panda and Herbduel, also like just hopping in there, tag teaming back and forth, RTBCing. Boy, it was a sight to behold. I really, and my, sorry, total tangent here, but it's time for a story that I was burned out at the end of the weekend, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like. There's these issues that people are counting on me to review, and I kept delaying it. And then all day Sunday, I was like, okay, finally, I got to sit down and look at this stuff. I sat down at like 10 p.m. on Sunday. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Just have to get through a couple of code reviews. And there were 3 issues that I was like, I got to get through them. All 3 of them had been fixed and merged and completed and with everything done. And I was like, this is so great because, yeah, like just it wasn't dependent on me, and it didn't need my review because there was so much great collaboration happening between our community members. And I just feel so thankful and so grateful that we're really getting to that point where it's like, you know, every point in our project is not held up on any one person. And yeah, that's always been my definition of success for the Backdrop project. And it just seems like we're just right there on the cusp of having that happen. So just so exciting to reach that level of community. So thank you so much.
which makes it more urgent, or the sooner that we onboard the other potential core committer, the more beneficial it will be. That's what I have to say. There's
Yes.
another core committer waiting to be
Quite
onboarded.
obviously, yeah, it's super beneficial, and putting in the work of getting more core committers is definitely worth it because the return is really great. And I think that's true for all positions, actually, that the fewer people we have in any one position, the more important it is to get some more people added into that same role. Okay, well now
that makes me want to just quick mention next week at the outreach meeting, we're going to be talking about CiviCRM, for using it for volunteer management. So if you have skills or ideas about using CiviCRM with backdrop.org, come to the outreach meeting next week.
Okay. All right. Well, now we really are out of time. So thank you, everybody, once again, and we'll catch you guys next week.